Welcome back to the podcast Sound Talks. This is Matt Eagle from Eagle AI Agency. If you've been watching a lot of the different podcasts, we interview a lot of the fractional leaders within recruiting, staffing, as well as HR. So we have some fractional leaders, some staffing firms. We talk to CEOs and owners. I think we're on episode 14 now. And so excited to have Julia on for our podcast. So I know we got to talk before. Really excited to kind of get your perspective on the market. I see on the website the grit, the type of camaraderie you have here for your team too as well. And then a little bit more about AI too. So if you can just introduce yourself and your company and then a little bit about what you do, and then we can jump right into the questions.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt. So good to be here. I'm so excited to connect with you today. So, I am Julia Arpag, the CEO and founder here at Aligned Recruitment. We've been in business for 2.5 years. I myself have been recruiting for 10 years. I actually got into it via being an admissions recruiter for a college up in upstate New York. And then I've been working in tech recruitment for the past 8 years, which has been a blast.
Nice. Awesome. So first question is, have you seen any major shifts in staffing in the last, let's say 2 years, in the last 18 to 24 months?
No changes. Exactly the same. No, of course, there's
I
crazy
was
changes.
like,
It's been
whoa.
insane. No, absolutely. I mean, every day I feel like there's so much fear mongering where people are like, you're going to be replaced by AI. Oh, wait, no, you'll be replaced by someone who knows how to use AI. Wait, no, the job market's great. Wait, it's terrible. Like, it's just, right? It's chaos. Everyone's
Yeah.
freaking out all the time. So here's what's awesome is that it will never go out of style to have a sense of urgency, to have integrity, to serve before you sell, to serve instead of selling. So those are the principles we abide by. Whatever AI tools we're using, whatever processes we're following, whatever kind of partnership we have with our clients, that is never going to go out of style and that is never going to change.
Amazing. So for you, it's relationship, it's connection, and it's delivery, right? It's a lot of those things where you're
That's what all of
serving.
recruitment is, right? That's why the
Yeah.
recruiters who do well keep doing well because they've developed those as skill sets. They're not using gimmicks, they're not using hacks, they're not using shortcuts. We are genuinely invested in the success of the companies that we recruit for and the people who we recruit.
So when it comes down to like processes, right? Have you seen anything in the last 2, 3, 4 years where you feel like there's a loss of efficiency in recruiting, where some things may be a little bit too manual, some are AI. Obviously, you talked about AI as one of those like big hot topics. Is there anything that you see that's like, okay, that's a little too manual, or this is out of date, or this is probably the most important thing we should be leveraging within?
Yeah, honestly, whenever something too manual, I fix it. So, like for example, we use Fireflies as a recording tool. So I don't want my team having to sit there and manually type up all their notes. So Fireflies creates summaries, creates note documents, creates video footage of the conversation they had, so they can share that easily with the hiring team, so they don't have to do another round. So that's been great. There's awesome AI sourcing functionality built into LinkedIn Recruiter. So we've recently upgraded to that, which has been fantastic. So we have a team of sourcers who are phenomenal. But to support their work, we also do have that AI sourcing function as well. So yeah, anytime I'm like, I'd rather free up my team to do higher level work and not have to do this manual work, then yes, we do it.
Yeah, so I guess your perspective is the most important thing is quality conversation,
Hmm.
relationship, and everything else just needs to get optimized. Like,
Yeah,
it's the
exactly.
manual, get it out of here, right? That's
Yes,
the main
exactly.
thing. Okay. Where do you see the largest gaps in recruitment cycle right now? So whether it's sourcing, screening, engagement, placement, like where are you seeing the largest gaps
That's
currently?
funny. Literally right before this call, I just got off a call with a new client of ours where they were lamenting their last recruitment partner. They noticed a huge fall off from screen to interview with this client because this person wasn't personable. Like they weren't able to like really sell the opportunity to the candidate. They weren't able to really like communicate enthusiasm and excitement. So I think because recruiters don't always develop those soft skills that you have to succeed in this game, there can be a lot of drop off there where they don't view the role as a sales role. All of us are in sales. Even if we're not, closing new business, we're always closing candidates on new opportunities. So I think that can be a definite gap where if recruiters aren't fully bought into the opportunity and aren't really representing it well to their candidates, then there can definitely be a gap there in terms of getting to move candidates through to the next round.
Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah. Everything is sales. I think that's a common theme. I think I heard it from the last podcast too as well. where the recruiter needs to sell the opportunity correctly. He was a CEO of a company for about 30 years. It's like over $40 million. And that was the one thing he targeted was how well do recruiters sell the opportunity to the candidate and build that relationship, which
Mm-hmm.
is, I think, what can fill the gap there. By the
Mm-hmm.
way, you're the definition of enthusiasm. It's incredible, right? You're a definition of it.
You're so kind, Matt. I've gotten that for my whole life, so I really appreciate that. Thank you.
I couldn't even manufacture the amount of energy you're putting onto this podcast. It's amazing.
That is so okay. First of all, that's very kind of you. Thank you for saying that. Second of all, it's so funny because I actually was a very shy, introverted kid when I was
There's
little.
no
All I
way.
wanted to do was like sit in my living room and read books. And there was a moment, and I think it was fifth or sixth grade, when I was like, man, this kind of sucks. Like being quiet and introverted is a bummer. Like I don't want to do this anymore. So I truly like decided what kind of person I wanted to be and then slowly brick by brick kind of built that confidence and built that enthusiasm.
Yeah. And then
Yeah.
sales was calling your name. You're like, yep, sales is it. Yeah, that's
The
amazing.
first recruitment job I ever had, that's what my boss said. She was like, "Why do you work in recruitment and not sales? Like, get out of here. Like, go sell." And I was like, "It is sales." But yes, to your point, it is really fun to get to do sales and recruitment at the same time. So I
Yeah,
appreciate you
absolutely.
saying all
It
that,
is
Matt. Thank
sales. Recruiting is 100% sales. It's a
you.
revenue generating position. That's sales, right?
Hmm.
So you're absolutely right. So for candidate engagement, this is probably one of the gaps I see across the board for people who are just starting their organizations, all the way to people who have 30-year experience, is engagement, right? Engaging candidates, even if they're maybe you don't have a role with them, or so. Where do you see or where do you see maintaining engagement? How have you created success maintaining engagement? How important do you think it is? And then is it a gap today?
Man, that's such a good question. The biggest gap I see is when recruiters don't have a sense of urgency. Like they don't really care. They're like, you get the role, you don't get the role, whatever. I'll just work on another role. Like, right? Like that kind of sense where they're not bought in to the client. They don't really care if they fill this role on their team or not. They're not bought into the candidate. They don't really care if they land their next job. So I think that's the biggest gap. And then I think the opportunity there is being as personable as possible. Like, obviously, I don't ask inappropriate questions and I don't teach my team to ask inappropriate questions during the screen. But right, but as much as we can get to know them as people. Like I just got off a while ago. I was on this client call, and we got to know like, oh, like what neighborhood of New York City do you live in? Oh, this is where I used to live 10 years ago when I lived there. Like, oh yeah, those commutes, right? Like you talk about more than just what's your rec load, what do you need? And then a candidate I screened yesterday, we talked about faith, we talked about marriage, we talked about family. Like obviously, I have to be careful not to ask those questions.
For sure.
But if
Yeah.
they volunteer them, like
Right. You
awesome.
just connect. Yeah.
Right. Like, let's definitely
Absolutely.
have that conversation. So, I think that personal touch is a game changer. Like, if someone can tell that you care about them as a human and you've gone beyond, oh, you're just my client or, oh, you're just my candidate. And then you maintain that sense of personality and that sense of genuine commitment to them throughout the interview process, that coupled with that sense of urgency that I just mentioned, you're going to be golden.
I can picture your team right now. I bet it's very high speed, high energy, right? How do
Oh,
you
incredible. My
I can
team, I'm
imagine.
obsessed with them. Yes, they're geniuses, total geniuses.
I feel like it's a ball of energy. You walk into the office and you feel it in the air. It's gonna be awesome.
Yes.
But so
Yes.
how have you taught that? How have you like ingrained that into your team? Like what are some things that you like? Is it just reinforcement? Is it like showing by example? Like how have you really like mastered that?
That's a great question. So number one, I hire for it. So I'm a professional recruiter, so I should be
Yeah.
pretty good at hiring for my own team, right?
Yeah.
So I'm very upfront about the kind of leader I am. I'm very upfront about the kind of culture that we're building here, and I'm very upfront about what drives me. And then I ask them, what motivates you? Like, why do you want to work here? Why do you want to be in this little tiny agency when you could go work anywhere, right? Like we have a
Yeah.
lot of energy, but we're still small, right?
Yeah.
So we're small but mighty, but we are still small. So
Yeah.
I just want to understand like what's going on behind the scenes for you. What's going on in your head? What is going to drive you at the end of the day to have that sense of urgency, that sense of intensity in your process. And then as far as how we drive that as a team, so every single week when we have our weekly calls, calls, we go over our annual vision, our team's values, our team's mission, and how each of us are contributing to those pieces. Every single week, we go over that.
That's
And then in my
incredible.
one-on-ones with everyone on the team, we go through their rec load, we go through any things that are preventing them from closing roles, anything that's going really well with certain roles, we can translate that to other roles. We just stay in constant communication and we keep that mission front and center for us.
So when you're interviewing the person that you're looking for, what answers are you looking for from that question? Are you say, hey, this is the leader I am. This is what we're expecting. What motivates you? Like, and I think this is really good for anybody listening that's trying to get a job, because I know what you're proud to say, but I want other people to hear it too. Like, what things are you looking for someone to say in that?
So transparently, when I'm hiring recruiters, I want them to be motivated financially. Like if they don't care how much money they make, this is not going to be the right environment for them because we're an agency. So ultimately, we do have to be motivated to make placements. That's how we put food on the table for our families. So I do need their answer to be, I'm money motivated. One of my best friends is a therapist and she runs a therapy practice. And she's like, no one on my team cares about money. Like literally no one. She's like, I don't know how to motivate them because no one wants money.
That's brutal as a CEO too. Like, you own the practice and nobody else cares about the money you're making. It's just like the most frustrating thing.
Right. You're like, guys, we have to feed our children. Like, please care about this, right? So
Yeah.
luckily in my world, like it's kind of obvious that you're gonna care about money, but that is something I explicitly want them to answer. Like, what is motivating you at the end of the day? What are your financial goals? Like, how does this align with you accomplishing those? So
People think it's an assumption, but reality is some people don't say that. Some people want a coast job, something that they just do and they go home. So
mhm.
that is such an incredible question to ask people. I remember there was a story that was told. I think it was an insurance company, and the boss, it's like a $70 million company, and he has one little plaque that he had since he started. It said, "The next sale puts food on the table." And for some reason, that just motivates everybody in the office, right? Because
Mhm.
that really is the case, right?
Mhm.
If you're doing contingent hire, it's only 6 months. You only got 12 contractors. You hire them all in the same quarter. You're 6 months away from being out of business, right? So it's real
That's true.
motivating.
That's true.
So talking about branding and lead generation, I know you're probably heavy in LinkedIn, but and I don't want any secrets. I know there's some secrets you probably have, but what brings in the strongest leads for you? Like, what type of marketing and branding do you do as well when it comes to like helping bring in that business? And sometimes I think people don't leverage inbound enough either. Like inbound leads coming in when it comes to like marketing. Like, how are we capturing people who see interest in what we do? But
Mhm.
I'll leave it to you to answer that.
Yeah, that's a good question. Our biggest lead source is referrals, as with most service-based agencies, right? If I did a crappy job recruiting, then our pipeline would quickly dry up. So the fact that we do a great job recruiting and we get a lot of referrals from people who know good people, right? Like if you're a tech leader, you know a lot of other tech leaders. And so if my team kills at recruiting for your engineering team, you're going to connect me with your friends who you know are trying to hire for their engineering teams too. So that's our number one lead source. And then in terms of inbound, yes, I have invested a lot of time into my LinkedIn presence. I've actually grown my follower count. When I first started 2.5 years ago, it was at 12K and now it's at 76K. So I've just really put a lot of time and energy into learning how to write for LinkedIn, learning how to communicate in a way that resonates with my target audience. And then, yeah, when I get those inbound leads, we have that same sense of urgency that we have for the recruitment process where we follow up, we get on a call, we understand what they need, and then we're off to the races.
Do you automate some of those processes for your marketing on LinkedIn? I know a lot of people use tools to target your brand and target the stories and write. And do you also do that as well?
So candidly, I used to do a lot of automated outbound lead gen campaigns on LinkedIn. My follower count got so high that LinkedIn started paying more attention to my account and realizing that that was happening. And then I read the fine print of my LinkedIn contract, and they're like, you can't do that. Like, you can't have any automated campaigns going out on LinkedIn.
Oh, that's
So
interesting. When
isn't
was
that crazy?
that? When was that?
I would never have realized that if I hadn't been flagged. So I'm a Christian, so I operate with integrity. So once I learned that, I shut down that outbound lead gen tool, and so now everything we do is purely manual.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think that might have was that a couple years ago.
No, that was like 2 months ago.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay. That's crazy. So there are ways for LinkedIn for automation where you're able to the AI pretty much knows when to stop and start and make sure that it stays away from the regulation standpoint. But that's good to know. That's good to know that that's something that happened to you. Do
Mhm.
you use like website? Do you use Google Ads? Do you leverage any of those type of things either?
Oh man, Matt, if I had an extra 50K a month, yes, I would definitely be doing Google Ads, but all the research I've done on that, it doesn't make sense for our firm. And like I said, we've had a phenomenal pipeline. We're very lucky, very blessed. Like I said, I'm a Christian, so at the end of the day, I just trust God to keep helping
Abundance.
me scale my
Yeah,
business.
dude, it's coming anyways. Yeah, I
So
get that.
that's been huge. But yeah, no, we do optimize our website. So we have done our own SEO. I have an incredible operations manager internally here who runs our website and has done a fantastic job of helping us get found via search engine. So that's been huge.
That's amazing. Yeah, so you use SEO support to do that. So that's
Mhm.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, the abundance is amazing, right? You're favored
Hmm.
anyways. God's gonna favor you. It's all the things. It's
Hmm.
awesome. So last two things, and of course I'm an AI business, so I always want to bring in the AI technology and really understand like where you stand on it too as well. I had a phenomenal conversation with somebody who's been in the industry for over 30 years, but he started on the AI train pretty early. I'm actually going to use it as a staple of kind of my branding of what he said because he's a keynote speaker to a lot of the AI tools that are coming out. And he's actually hiring AI for teams to be able to grow their AI teams and those things. So how do you think AI is going to impact staffing and recruiting in the next like 3 to 5 years?
That's a great question. I think AI is going to keep having the same impact it has been having, honestly, where it's automating those manual pieces that you really don't need people to do. And that's really not their highest point of influence and freeing up their time to do that relational building and really making sure that they're able to connect on a human level with their candidates and their clients. I'm so thankful for that about AI.
Yeah, and then I actually saw a study that LinkedIn just put out. 75% of all job descriptions coming out require some type of AI knowledge.
Hmm.
You think it's going to be like I like to call it the cyborg effect, where you're going to have to learn at least how to leverage AI if you're going to be a professional in this space now?
Yes, every single position that we recruit for, whether it's obviously engineering, but even non-technical roles within the tech companies that we work with, like marketing, sales, one of the screening questions is always, how are you using AI in your current position to be more efficient and more expedient?
Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah, we're gonna turn into cyborgs. We're gonna have to figure it out. There's two routes that people always have. It's they take over everything, and then the other route is it enhances the human experience.
Yeah.
I really favor the enhancement of human experience because you cannot get rid of trust, you cannot get rid of relationships, and you cannot get rid of like the idea of connecting with people. You
Hmm.
can't do it. AI will never be able to do that. It never will have the opportunity to do that. Now, the last person I talked to, they did have AI agents doing interviews over the phone, but again, it was for more low-level logistics positions where they're like, "Hey, can you lift 60 pounds? Can you walk 10,000 steps a day?" And if they answer those 10 or 15 questions, then they still get to a human being. Right? So
Hmm.
I don't think you could ever replace that. Where do you see AI still? I guess the best way to say is what areas in staffing do you think AI is going to make the biggest impact outside of, and I know you said administration, but maybe a little bit more granular. Like, where is it ripe right now where you're like, AI can really make an impact in this area?
That's a great question. I think AI can make the biggest impact in terms of, gosh, I have so many use cases for this. So one that you just mentioned, I would really love an AI video tool that feels more personable. Like so many AI interview tools feel so clunky and so robotic. And I think it'd be really cool if someone could make one that didn't feel that way. So that would be ideal.
Yeah.
And yeah, like we just keep talking about, there's so many manual processes in recruitment. So anything that can automate as many of those steps as possible, I'm all for it.
Yeah, I think one of the things I think I was watching Honda change its automation. I have Honda myself, like the way that they build scheduling, reschedules, all those stuff, separate things to be able to jump on a call, do those things. The AI receptionist that they have that just came out is incredible, right?
That's
Super,
awesome.
super personable. Honestly, for me, I didn't know it was AI until like I started really thinking about it, which was great. And when I needed to reschedule, it was just like, yep, done, 3 seconds. Hey, you had to cancel 30 minutes before the appointment. We already rescheduled somebody into it. We moved them up, we moved you over. Like it was just so fast, right?
Mhm.
I think
That's
that's where it comes into play too. It's from like an operation standpoint, not from like I need to know who you are standpoint, right?
mhm.
So that's
Totally
big.
agree. Yeah.
So, any advice? So, closing this, any advice that you would give to somebody that is starting a staffing firm? When you first started, let's say you said, how long has your business been in?
We've been in business for 2.5 years.
2.5 years, right? What would you tell yourself 2.5 years ago right now that you know? What advice would you give yourself that's starting a business right
Everything you can learn about mindset, learn it. Your brain is the number one influencer on your life. So learn everything you can about having a positive mindset. Learn everything you can about becoming a radical optimist. Learn everything that you can about having a growth mindset and focus on your wins. I end every single day with thinking about 3 wins that we had that day. Even if it was the worst day ever, I guarantee you can find 3 wins from it. And then you go into the next day thinking about what are my 3 wins for today going to be. You just keep that mindset and you'll always win.
Yeah, I love that. I love that so much. And one more thing, just because it came up last time, I think it's an interesting question. Now that AI is kind of actually making an impact in the industry, the last person I chatted with was, hey, this is my advice to people getting into the industry trying to find work. One of his advice was, don't just be stagnant in one industry, meaning he was like, if you're an engineer, learn something new too as well. Second thing is really understand people skills at a very high level. He said that's a number one separator. And the
Mhm.
last thing is always be developing some type of skill set in AI, right? Is there anything else that you would give to people who are trying to get into an industry where it's AI heavy, and how can they differentiate themselves to be successful?
Gosh, those are fantastic ideas. I completely echo those and agree with those. And the only thing I would say is just I would double click on the EQ piece of it, the personal aspect of it. Now that AI is so prolific and basically everyone knows how to use it to some extent or another, that will continue to be a bigger and bigger separator. That the people who can use AI and can carry a conversation are the
At the
people
same
who are going to be picked. They're going to be picked for the job 100% of the time.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's almost that people skills is more important today than ever. As
Exactly. It's a
technology
separator.
grew, EQ had to go up, which is
Yep.
not what I would have expected whatsoever. It seems like an inverse relationship. But Julia, thank you so much for jumping on. This was so valuable. And if anybody wanted to reach out to you, how can they reach out to you? I'm guessing website. Is there anything specific?
Yes, couple ways to reach out to me. So number one, LinkedIn. I'm actually the only Julia Arpag on LinkedIn, so you'll be able to find me pretty easily.
Nice. There you
And
go.
then our website is alignedrecruitment.com. So get in touch with me in those 2 ways and we'll chat.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for jumping on. Thanks for taking the time. I know you're busy, and I appreciate it again.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, Matt.